Well, Governor, thank you for taking the time today.
Yeah, welcome.
It seems like we're really turning the corner in the coronavirus pandemic. Restrictions have been lifted, mask wearing mandates have been loosened. We're not wearing masks for the first time, which feels pretty good. About 70% of the eligible population in Rhode Island has gotten at least one shot. I want to talk about executive orders. Just today, you re-signed multiple executive orders. Just across the border in Massachusetts, the emergency declaration, the state of emergency, is set to expire on June 15th. You've just extended multiple executive orders, including, I believe, the state of emergency, but correct me if I'm wrong, until the 25th. Will you let those orders expire at that time?
Well, we're just going to do it based on what's in the best interest of the state. So we're going to continue to evaluate the emergency order. And the executive orders, we'll take them one at a time. And we just notified the nursing homes that the indemnity? That we're not going to renew that one. We're back in good shape, like you say. In a week's time, we'll have 70% of the people fully vaccinated, right? Based on 70% partially vaccinated, at least one shot. So we're going to take it one step at a time. We're going to do it safely. And we're going to continue to reopen. I think people are enjoying that. We were able to bump it up a full week. So wherever we can take the flexibility, we're going to take it.
But what metrics are you looking at? I mean, so many things are back to normal. Why continue to extend these emergency executive orders? What are the metrics?
Well, I think the main thing is that we want to make sure that we have options in place. We're not using it. I haven't put a new executive order in. Don't intend to. I'm meeting weekly with the Senate President and the Speaker, and we're working through a normal course of action there. We're not using an executive privilege in any way right now. So we'll just keep that in place just in case we need it. It's not hurting anything. And so, and we are signaling to the people in the state of Rhode Island that we're open. We're reopened, as you just said. We're going to be open for our schools. And a lot of positive energy. That's what I'm focused on, make sure the economy's open. Our schools, we're going to get reopened. And we're taking care of state business as well on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, Governor Charlie Baker is putting in some legislation to try and extend things like outdoor dining or virtual public meetings. You mentioned that you're working with the Speaker and the Senate President. Why not do these things through a legislative process versus through extending executive orders?
Yeah, so we're going to do it through the legislative process, and I'm encouraging any of the avenues that were taken to help our small businesses in particular, right, with outside dining and other measures like that. And also I helped as Lieutenant Governor to make sure that the takeouts could include the beer and then also the mixed drinks. We haven't had any real major problems with that. We should continue doing that. And I expect that the General Assembly will be passing those. And I encourage the people on the municipal level, as a former mayor, I know that that's a local jurisdiction in many ways, and encourage the municipalities to provide as much flexibility as we can for our small businesses.
Do you think we'll still be under a state of emergency come July?
I don't know. We'll see where we are. Like I said, that's not like I'm not really fixated on that as other people are. I'm fixated on opening up the economy, making people safe, getting the vaccinations. I can tell you we're not done with the vaccination effort. We'll be in Woonsocket next week, going to the high rises. We were at the Boys and Girls Club in Woonsocket last week. We'll be at the Boys and Girls Club in Newport shortly. So there's still an urgency, in my opinion, to get people vaccinated. So I'm focused on those things, Kim.
On the topic of vaccinations, states like Ohio offering some pretty unique incentives, $1 million prize if you get vaccinated. Are you thinking about any incentives like that one?
Well, we'll do what we need to do. I think we're about 20 points ahead on percentage basis than Ohio in terms of vaccination. So thank you to everybody in the state of Rhode Island for responding to the efforts and our municipal leaders and the National Guard. Let's talk about that, and along with FEMA. I think FEMA's having a little cookout, I think, at the dunk today because they're leaving the dunk today. So those are all positive signs. We'll do whatever we need to do as long as it's legal.
Fair enough. Yeah. I want to get back to reopening. You said you want to send the message to the people of Rhode Island that the state is reopened, but you have faced some criticism for your handling of reopening the place where we're sitting, the State House. It didn't fully reopen when the rest of Rhode Island business restrictions, the majority of them, were lifted on Friday. Why did you make that decision, and why do you feel like it's safe for people to go into businesses without restrictions but not come to the State House, say, to testify on a bill? What's the difference there?
So let's make it real clear on this issue. I mean, it's part of the criticism, obviously, was that we're entering the silly season, right, in terms of that. That's clear in terms of the Secretary of State, especially when we had a meeting with there's multiple offices in this building, right? There's the governor's office, the treasurer, the Secretary of State, the speaker, the Senate, the House. We brought them all together knowing that everybody had a different type of strategy, right? The senators voted to stay out of session. The House is going to come back on June 1st. We know that. There wasn't any just across the board thing that you were going to dictate in. We took everybody in consideration, every general officer that's involved in this building. They met on May 18th. They decided what it would be. They decided they were going to do a soft opening on June 1st, and that's what we're doing.
So you don't see any validity to the argument that, hey, I can go into a bar without my mask on, without social distancing, or a restaurant, but I can't come into the State House to testify in person on a piece of legislation that I'm passionate about. You don't see the validity of that argument? You think it's just political?
Well, I think that the criticism from the Secretary of State was, but the fact, especially when she knew she was part of the conversation, right? I checked with my chief of staff. Everybody should have been checking with their chief of staff on that. No, I think it's a reflection on the Senate has a certain feeling that it's not safe for them to come back in here. There's reasons that they did it. I respect that, and I don't necessarily try to second guess that. My responsibility here is to make it work. And in conjunction with the individuals that are in the building. So, no, we're going to get there, and the public understands that. The people of the state of Rhode Island are very pleased that we bumped up a full week on the opening last weekend, right? That was scheduled for May 28th. And so we're going to continue to do exactly what I've said over the last several weeks. We're going to have this incremental flexibility, and where we can be more flexible, we will. And right now, we're a state that's fully open. And we're reflecting that in national levels, right? That Moody's has got us ranked as like 6th in the country to get back in terms of the economy pre-pandemic. We're number 1 in the Northeast right now. Our unemployment rate is shifting down at a higher percentage than virtually, I think, the top in the country right now in terms of our unemployment rate. So we've got a lot that's going in a really good way. I'm not going to focus on the nitpicking that goes on these other issues when we're doing so well in terms of reopening our economy, we'll reopen our schools, and really work on the things that are the most important things for us.
On the topic of the economy, you mentioned, I believe it was earlier this month, this idea of giving Rhode Islanders gift cards to use at local small businesses. Where does that idea stand right now?
No, I think we're still working on that. I think we've got close to, I might understand, close to 4,500 approved $5,000 grants. I got texts from 2 people who received them today, small businesses. So we're going to keep on working on that. We're going to see what we got left over on that $30 million that I was able to carry over that was appropriated but never was actually given out, as expended. So we'll keep on working on areas that make sense, including what we did when we signed that bill in terms of the unemployment, leading the country in terms of a strategy to support people to get back to work in a way where they can continue to have the benefit of $300. We're calling it the 401 work, and that's going to be a really successful model as well. So, yeah, the economy's opening up, we're happy about it, and we're going to do whatever we can continually, and we intend to invest more dollars in our economy and the reopening strategy. We're working with the House and Senate right now on a strategy of using the funds that are in our bank account now. I think that's good news for the people in the state. The $1.12 billion is in our bank account right now, and we're starting to strategize how to use that in the best way. And I think the first step that I'd like to see is an economic recovery portion of dollars, at least during the summer months, and then we can take up how we would spend the balance of that in the best interest of the state, either in the fall of the House and Senate reconvene or when they reconvene in January.
So the gift card idea might not happen until next legislative session?
No, we're expecting to do something along those lines this summer, and a voucher strategy or some strategy. There are some very complicated rules that you have to follow on the federal government side. We want to make sure we follow those so we don't give any money back. We don't want to give any money back to the back to the federal government. That's our money. They sent it to us. We sent it to them. They sent it back to us.
Yeah, we should get to keep it. That's
Yes.
right. I want to switch gears just a little bit. Rose Amorus, the head of the Office of Healthy Aging, she's facing a whistleblower lawsuit alleging that she tried to misappropriate some federal money and created a hostile work environment. Are you aware of this lawsuit, and are you looking into these allegations?
Yeah, currently, certainly we take a approach, regardless if it's a staff member, a director, or employee. You know, let's understand you're innocent until you're proven guilty. So allegations are allegations. We like Rose. She's done a great job. I did work with her as lieutenant governor in the long-term health care council, and she's done a great job there in terms of the work that she's done. So we're looking at it, and we're talking to the director about it, and we're not ignoring those things. And if there is some level of misconduct, we'll deal with it appropriately. But we're not going to jump to any conclusions, and the people in the state of Rhode Island shouldn't jump to any conclusions on that either.
I want to ask some questions about the capital city. Mayor Elorza wants to borrow up to $850 million for the pension fund, but he needs state approval for that. If that bill lands on your desk, will you sign it?
Well, it depends on the condition. All the bills that land on my desk, it depends how they arrive. That's a really, you know, that's a rolling of the dice, and the people in the city should know, and the people in the state should know. It hasn't happened too well in Woonsocket when they did that. They bought into a high market. This is a pretty high market that you're buying into right now, so I think you need to be really careful. We'll take a look at the details when it gets, if in fact it gets to my desk.
On the topic of Providence Public Schools, there's been turmoil in an already troubled district in the past couple of weeks. You said last week that you still have confidence in the state's education commissioner. If you are elected governor, will you keep her on to see through the 5-year turnaround plan?
Well, again, everybody is, I'm in that 100 days, 85 days, certainly making evaluations 100 days, but I've said publicly I support the commissioner. And my role is, in terms of the Providence schools, has just shifted, as you just said, because of the turmoil that's happened with the superintendent and the assistant. They are both no longer employed in the Providence schools. The next appointments are going to be on my watch, right? So those appointments were on the previous administration's watch. So we're going to, I'm going to enter into that in a very intelligent way, but clearly I'm going to be taking a strong role in who's going to be leading that district. In the negotiations too, we're going to take a strong role on that. I think the commissioner has said that she's not going to be in the room, and I suggested that several weeks ago. You shouldn't have a decision maker in the negotiations, and we'll roll in our staff in the governor's office to represent myself, the governor, and the Providence and RIDE in those negotiations beginning next week.
Have you heard from the commissioner, or maybe this is partially your decision as well, who the interim superintendent of Providence schools will be? She told me yesterday they would likely decide that today.
So we've had meetings, and I've had my weekly, bi-weekly, tri-weekly calls with the commissioner over the last few weeks, and we continue to have that. We had a meeting in our office yesterday doing strategies on how we would proceed. And I expect that an interim will be put in place in the short order, and I know that we'll play a very significant role on who's going to be the superintendent. But I can tell you, it's going to be a public. It's going to be. I've had experience on this as a mayor, and I've seen good superintendent searches, and I've seen superintendent searches that have left the public out of it. We'll have a way to make sure that we get good public input. I think that was one of the criticisms last time. This is going to be a superintendent, like I said, it's going to be under my watch, and under my watch, we open up things.
We are heading into Memorial Day weekend. It might be the most normal holiday weekend that we've had in some time. What's your advice to Rhode Islanders this holiday weekend? Well,
the first thing, I was at the Garden of Heroes yesterday, and we were remembering, I think the first thing to do is let's remember why we have our freedom. That's the purpose of Memorial Day. As a mayor, as a lieutenant governor, now as governor, I see that as one of my most important responsibilities is to remember those who have served and have paid that ultimate price. And I'd ask everybody in the state to make sure we reflect on that. That's really important. Of course, bringing families together right now as we are in the state, that's a perfect venue to kind of reflect on our blessings. I do that with my family. I tell everybody, let's count your blessings. And I would say that would be the message that I would give to the people in the state.
Governor, anything else you'd like to add or let folks know today?
No, happy to continue to be communicating with the people in the state of Rhode Island, and thanks for the opportunity, Kim.
Thank you.
Yeah.